Hello and welcome to another AIC Productions video. This is just going to be a real short video for you guys. I am in the process of downsizing my computer case. So I used to mine Ethereum, and at one point I had 4 graphics cards stuffed into that bigger case there, and so obviously I need a bigger case. It has 6-7 fans in it to pull air through to keep things cool. And so it's pretty noisy, not terrible, but still fairly noisy. It's also quite big. You can see the size difference. But the funny thing is, we'll go ahead and open it up here in a second, but the parts I have in there now are actually quite diminutive. So I decided to downsize. The other problem is because of the size of the case, I can't have it up on my desk. It's just too big. So it's been sitting down in this cubby here. And as you can see, it just gets filthy under there. So having it up higher off the ground will lead for a more clean system. I actually cleaned this computer up less than a month ago. It is that dusty. So yeah, having it up on the desktop will mean it will stay cleaner, run cooler, and having fewer fans, all that jazz, will mean that it's quieter as well. Let's open up the bigger one and show you what we got going on the inside. Alright, here we have it opened up, and as you can see, there just isn't a whole lot of stuff in here being used. So I had 2 graphics cards here. I had one shoved in here and one shoved in there, and it was just crammed full of cards. And so obviously that's not the case. I sold those cards almost a year ago now, and I just have the single GTX 1060 6 gig. I have my Micro ATX or mini whatever smaller ATX board with my Ryzen 5, which I do plan on upgrading here soon. I actually just went through and updated the BIOS to be able to take newer Ryzen CPUs. I'm hoping with the release of the newest gen that they're older, the second gen, or the Ryzen 2000 series I should say, CPUs will drop in price, and I'll be able to pick up a couple of those inexpensively. Or not a couple, but one of those inexpensively. And there's the power supplies. Yeah, not a whole lot going on in here. We'll go ahead and get it moved over to the new case. Alright, so we got everything stuffed in there, and it is stuffed. In fact, to get the motherboard in, I actually had to take out this case fan because there just was no way I could physically get it in there without doing that. Cable management in a case like this is hard because you don't have a lot of room. The case is very thin. Let me see if I can turn this around here. And so on this side, there just isn't hardly any room between the case side and the backplate that you screw the motherboard onto. A couple of small things that I thought I would mention. First and foremost, there's some interesting things about this case. Let's turn this back around. So I used every single screw except one. That's the only screw I have not used. This top was already pre-punched out, so I had to wiggle these 2 loose, and then there's one more slot down here which I can't use with my graphics card, which takes up all of that room. I did put 2 fans from my other case. One here, one will go on the it was already on the panel here. So this is an intake. This exhausts, and this one exhausts. So a lot of exhaust with one intake. The placement for the SSD is interesting. There's actually 2 SSD placements, one right here. I'm going to find another screw that fits back here to hold it in a little bit better. And then where these holes are in the back technically is another place for another SSD. You screw it in from the back. You see that hole right there is where you put a screw through, and it would hold it vertically there. So kind of an interesting placement. There's I guess this would be really 2 slots for hard drives. You could probably squeeze a third one in here. It'd be just tight. One place for a 5.5 inch. Now I do have my Blu-ray drive here, which that was one of the requirements for a case for me is whenever we buy a movie or whatever, I rip it to the computer so that my kids can watch it on the Media Center PC. So that's basically exclusively what I use a Blu-ray drive for anymore. But I do use it, and a lot of cases actually no longer have optical drive bays, which I think is great. Optical media is going the way of the dinosaur, except for you still buy DVDs. My power supply is severe overkill. I think it's a 1200 80 gold plus, but I was running this when I was running up to 4 graphics cards at once, so you know, I was putting through a ton of power. I was able to reduce an entire cord from the setup because I have fewer fans and just fewer things altogether in here. But should be good. This, like I said, is going to go up on the desk and not be on the ground anymore, so it should be less noisy. These fans here are dual speed, so I have them set to low. I probably will end up replacing this fan with something else. You can fit a slightly bigger fan. These fans are just too big to fit there. There's probably, I'll have to look up the instructions and see what size. Probably like a 90 millimeter fan, something like that. Like I said, I'll have to look that up and see what size, because I bet this one's going to be noisy. This is a Rosewill case. I don't know if I said that or not. I've had pretty good cases from Rosewill. In fact, the case my wife uses and that our media center PC is configured into is a Rosewill, and I actually really like that case. Unfortunately, they've quit making it, and I did find some new old stock ones, but they're selling for $30 with like $60 of shipping, and I'm not going to pay $90 for a Rosewill case. This one was less than $30. Yeah, definitely. I mean, there's definitely a build quality. I paid $30 for the case, so there's a build quality thing going on. But this case isn't going to be traveling. It's going to be sitting on my desk, and I'll probably be using it for just a couple of years. I really only have a desktop because I was mining cryptocurrency. I actually have started to prefer just having a laptop with a docking station. So once this one is no longer up to snuff, I may go back to using a laptop. We'll see. I have, no decisions. I'll be using this for at least another 3-4 years for now. But anyways, that is that. If you have any questions, feel free to ask in the comment section down below. Do my best to answer those questions, and I hope you have an amazing day.